Hi, I'm Sophy Searight, the editor of Inside Retail. I'm here in central London at the Portas headquarters to talk to Mary Portas, who's been able to share a few minutes of her time with us to talk about the opportunities for independent retailers in 2017.
The thing about independent retail, any retail today, is that you need to create a destination in order to create footfall. It's the why rather than the what we sell. Why would someone want to come to our shop? The minute you start asking that, you really have to dig quite deep onto what it is that makes you a destination. Mainly, obviously, to browse because you have a reputation, but there's also this social interaction. Online is about accessibility, speed, comparison, research, but it can't give you that connection. And the businesses that are really moving on are the people that are putting experience and connection, socialization and communication at the heart of their business. This, in their hand, the phone, is the first thing that people will do. And if you haven't got a presence there, that is really going to be an issue to your growth. Absolutely no good in ignoring it. You have to do something about it. We know that getting to the top and getting your brand through the doorway, which effectively is Google, is not easy. So what you should be doing if you're a small business is partnering with businesses that have an online presence that will work with small independents and actually increasing your social media, increasing what you put out there from your business. It's an extension of what you do, and I can't think of any successful independent truly at the top of their game who hasn't got that. Interestingly, we're seeing a big growth in the home market. People often look to their homes to create a place of safety, a place where they feel warm, a place with all those objects that they have that connect with them on an emotional basis. It's a good business to be in, but it's also a competitive business to be in. We're seeing a real trend towards brands that have a real legitimate story, you know, where people are looking at the world and thinking, all that sort of fast stuff that we had, you know, for years where we bought too much. We're being a bit more picky about the stuff that we buy. Things like status stories are now replacing status symbols, where it used to be about the brand. Now it's about where you discovered it, where you got that from, what the background stories are. And in the gift and the home business, that business is perfect for that. There's nothing lovelier knowing who painted that picture, knowing where that frame came from, thinking about the same way that you connect your product to the people that come into the shops. Whenever I go into independent shops to help them, the biggest problem they have is that they don't have anyone else to share their problems with. It's quite lonely. It's lonely when it's your business. It's lonely when it's you who's making the decisions. And so often that is the biggest issue. We've got so much going on with social media. I think it would be an incredible thing. We should have a forum that we actually have for independent retailers to share ideas, a kind of a mum's net, but for independent retailers. I think it would be just a gorgeous idea to do that. 10, 15 years ago, everybody worked in silos. That isn't happening today because people aren't just seeing it about my shop, they're seeing it about me and my community of shops. The first thing I would do is find out who the other shopkeepers are and actually co-create spaces, work together. A lot of that's been happening across the country and it's been really hugely successful. It doesn't need to be lonely. To get outside the front door, first of all, find out who else is selling. Your consumers, they also the public, will know other people in other businesses. Talk about your business, but the other thing with the internet, you can connect with so many other businesses. I do that. People write to me and I try and connect them with separate businesses. I think, oh gosh, that business was a closed shop, they had problems, why don't you talk to each other? Towns are starting to do that, so independents should do. So many independents, when I would go into them, they'd say, oh, I'm a furniture shop, but I'd say, well, what's different from what, for example, IKEA might be selling, or well, it's not. We go to the same sort of home interiors fairs, and I said, well, they've got a buying team of about 30 people. You've got you. Often, I think the thing that you can do is that absolute bespoke personal service where you start to build your customer base, know what they want, and actually search and resource for them, I think is absolutely important. Also being so busy, most independent are so busy they don't look up and they don't see what's happening. And that, I think, is probably the biggest weakness I go in. I remember doing the home store, a couple of completely mad people who I loved in Surrey, and they weren't reading the home interiors magazines. You need to make time, and actually time isn't always about selling, time is about creatively thinking. And you can do that even with your team of people. You know, I think it's using the resources, saying to people you've got in the shop, you know, you find me the best pictures on Pinterest. You go out there and take some pics on social media, you upload them, looking at what's happening, getting outside and up above the day-to-day running of a business. I think that's probably the biggest mistake people make. When I'm looking to turn around a failing business, the first thing I do is look at the people who are running it. And really often it's giving confidence to the people when I'm turning around a business. It's about believing in yourself, and you will make mistakes, but knowing that actually the next thing you could possibly turn this around, keep trying. Edit and focus what it is that you stand for. Really looking at space as well, and understanding the use of space within retail now and what the role of space is, and is that working to you? Why are these industries successful? Why is it, for example, Ted Baker has got grooming for men's sorted? How come that business was able to do it? What is it they're doing? What tips could you learn from them? I mean, the list goes on, but invariably I start with the people. The British High Street faces challenges all the time. Nothing worse than the fact that the tax has now gone up, rates has gone up again, and I'm going to be seeing Greg Clark, the Minister, next week, because it's just shocking. It's trebled in price, so bless anybody trying to maintain a business on the High Street today. When I wrote my High Street report, all the big businesses particularly were saying it's about out of town. Big supermarkets, of course, they'd say that, that's where they wanted it to be. You had a lot of the economists saying it's all going to go online. What they forgot were two key things. One, people are humans. People want to connect. Second thing is this. When the crash happened, people looked at how they were spending money. And so people didn't want to drive out of town. They were spending money on petrol to park up, load their car up with a big week shopping in a big supermarket that covered everything. And now the supermarkets are trying to get back onto the high street. You'll see a lot of the local businesses. Now that that's happening, with every pound spent in this country, half is spent on food. That's a great thing, because that footfall comes back to the local high street, which is a really good thing for small businesses. Culturally, it's moving in the right way. Sadly, the government hasn't sorted out the rates. It's so easy if we listen to the naysayers and the dooms. And interestingly, when I did my High Street report of 2011, everyone said the High Street was over. It's not. And regeneration happens all the time. Regeneration happens all the time in the way that we buy. And if you even go back hundreds of years, every new business comes on and evolves. And evolution and constantly looking forward and being creative is the way forward. So I'll be looking at businesses that have done that, brands that are doing that, independents that have been successful, and trends and predictions, and looking at 2017 and onwards, and hoping the spring fair becomes the summer fair, the autumn fair, years from now, and that businesses can still be there, you know, and looking at why small independent shops are actually crucial to the social infrastructure of this country.